Hey guys, welcome back. As always, my name is Leyzar, and we will not be going for the Zylok in rotation 6. Now I asked you guys to be patient, wait for my review so you can make an informed decision. Unfortunately, the Zylok is completely broken. In the bad sense of the word, it's got many functionality issues, which makes it a pretty weak weapon. It has potential, but right now, considering all the bugs it's being plagued with, you shouldn't really go for it. Let's talk about said bugs. First of all, you need to understand how the Zylok operates in its Incarnon form. It's actually quite the weapon, and if it would have worked right, this would have been pretty good. Let's charge it up with headshots, not body shots. In Incarnon form, this one is a charge-up weapon you can cancel by pressing R, which is fantastic because you can hold your shot in for idle on hunts. The explosion that it releases is heat damage, which means it's really easy to make it into radiation. This will be quite the effective idle-on hunting weapon. For the time being, I would skip it. However, keep in mind this is a hit scan attack. It may look like the projectile is traveling there, but you're going to be getting instant damage on your targets. The problem with this big bada boom explosion, which is 6 meters large and 60% damage drop-off, is the fact that it has line of sight. A puzzling decision by the developer. I still like to believe that it was unintended and it's a bug, but you can prove this very easily. Simply jump up in the air, put an explosion down there, and this guy or girl right here was protected from the explosion. It is 100% reproduction rate, as you can see. It has line of sight issues, but this, you can get past this. This is not that big of an issue because what you can do is jump up into the air and carpet bomb with it. Get a headshot on a target and essentially the explosion will be good enough to hit everybody. You can get past this issue. What I cannot get past is the fact that multi-shot does almost nothing for the actual explosion. Now keep in mind, when it comes to this weapon, in its normal form you got a hit scan attack. In its Incarnon form, you got that big bada boom explosion, but you also have the wannabe projectile making contact with a target. So there's two damage sources there. Yes, one, the projectile making contact with your target, and two, the big bada boom explosion. These are highlighted very well on the stats page, unlike the despair, which I had to document myself. Now, let's have a quick look, because I want you to see what multi-shot does on it, and then we're going to talk some other bugs as well. Fire rate, just so I can charge it a bit faster. I don't think that the weapon should have that charge up trigger. It's not that powerful. Let's put on all the multi-shot, my friends. All the multi-shot, Deadly Fusion, Lethal Torrent. And I will do you one better. I'm gonna go with Magnum Force. I don't want the damage. I want you to see the minus accuracy. Weapons in Warframe, even if they are hit scan, projectile based, doesn't matter. You should be able to see where the damage instances happen. You should see them traveling through the air or on a wall like this. The accuracy of the weapon right now in its normal form has gone completely out the window. But if I am to go in its Incarnon form, same as before. A single solitary explosion. There is no splitting, there is no going from left to right. But there is a counter argument to this. You can argue the fact that, hey, considering that in Incarnon form, these weapons have a charge, not ammunition, perhaps minus accuracy has no effect on them, and that would be a very good argument. But that shouldn't stop me from seeing multiple damage instances on my target, even if the explosions are traveling on the exact same path, making contact at the exact same time, and generating that explosion at the exact same time. I should still be able to see the different damage instances on a target, which you don't, because multi-shot does nothing on this weapon. I'm sorry I didn't record this earlier because I had an instance when multi-shot legitimately halved my damage. Yes, it was weird, which led me to believe perhaps it's splitting the damage between the multi-shot instances, but that unfortunately is not the case. Now, to exemplify this a bit better, a bit clearer, we're going to be spawning in a single corrupted heavy goon. The reason why I'm spawning low levels is because I want you to see any slight difference in damage. Please don't die just from one shot. Now, when you're testing things like this, you gotta keep in mind that your surface, the surface that you're testing on, in this case, the corrupted heavy goon, needs to be constant. Always the explosion roughly around the same area, so the damage fall off doesn't affect your damage numbers too much, so you're basically in the same range. Make sure there's no procs on them, like removed armor and so on and so forth, and make sure you don't have any buffs that are time limited, so you can get an actual and consistent test. We're gonna shoot for the feet, and I'm gonna back off just so you can have an easier time watching the numbers. I'm gonna hit the same white line, the imaginary white line I can see. That's 335, no procs on target. That's gonna be 679 with a heat proc. I got a crit instance, I got a white instance, that should be enough. Did you see multiple damage instances? Of course you didn't, because there aren't multiple damage instances. Now what we're gonna be doing next is taking off all the multi-shot, and we're gonna be repeating the exact same test. Same target, fresh one, just to make sure there's no funny business. I'm gonna do a single headshot. Thank you. One more. Still no procs, perfect. Same imaginary line, roughly here. Go, mama. 679. It doesn't work. Multi-shot does nothing on the explosion of the Incarnon form. So essentially you took the most powerful stat on the weapon, multi-shot, and said, hey, does nothing now. Not only that, if you take a look at the level 4 evolution, the furthest from the right, the one that gives you damage on status effect affecting the target, that one doesn't apply its damage benefit correctly either. It's not an issue strictly on the Zylok. Apparently that type of talent doesn't function on any of the Incarnon weapons correctly, unless of course they just wanted to give us a little bit of flat damage, which I doubt considering the position of that talent and the way that it reads. So there you go, you have a mess, a cluster of bugs. For the time being, ignore this weapon. One more observation, if we want this weapon to actually compete and not be mastery fodder, it's not enough to fix the multi-shot, the line of sight, and the level 4 incarnation. We also need a change on that charge up trigger. It's a cool trigger and it's gonna work great for eidolon hunting, but if you want this to compete with something like the Despair and other weapons which are similar in functionality, then we need at least a semi-automatic trigger in the Incarnon form, if not a full-blown automatic. Before I go, one thing. The visual effect seems very similar to another Incarnon weapon, that is the Incarnon Despair, which might lead you to believe, hey, maybe it has the same bugs. I tested the Despair. The Despair, thankfully, is fine. It doesn't have the issues that is plaguing this one. So if you want to build the best week 5 weapon, week 6 Incarnon weapon, look at the cards right now for the Incarnon Despair. That one is GG. And I do believe, my friends, that is pretty much it. Once again, I will encourage you to wait for my reviews on these weapons before you get to pick, so you can avoid situations such as these. As always, Papa's got your back. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, channel, subscribe only if you enjoy the content. If you got any feedback for me, I would love to read it in the comment section down below. Oh, and if you love the content and you want to help me keep making it, consider supporting us via Patreon. There's going to be a link in the upper right portion of the screen right about now. Bye, guys.